Welcome to Wellbeing with Therapy, series of podcasts to help with well-being moments. Hi, I'm Andy Smith, a therapist with Wellbeing with Therapy, and I would like to welcome you to today's podcast where we are talking about something we all deal with, whether we like it or not, emotional regulation. That's a fancy way of saying how we manage our feelings. And let's be honest, emotions can be messy. 1 minute we're fine, and the next a tiny thing sets us off. And did you know we have 2,000 emotions by the time we are 21? We also have 70,000 thoughts per day, of which 40,000 of them are negative. Not sure how they were ever counted though. So, how do we handle emotional regulation in a healthy way? Let's have a look. What is emotional regulation? Emotional regulation is our ability to manage and respond to an emotional experience without it controlling us. It doesn't mean suppressing feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about noticing what we feel, our understanding of why, and choosing how we react. There are 3 zones to how we deal with our emotions. Zone 1 is called the hyperarousal zone. This is about visible agitation, and it also triggers our fight or flee syndrome. This fight or flee syndrome stems from our oldest emotion, which is fear, where we may deal with something or we may run away. There are many occasions where we may feel like that. These are some of the things that you may feel in hyperarousal. A feeling of being emotionally overwhelmed, feeling unsafe, feeling that anger or that rage. We'll hear criticism when there isn't any, tension in the body or even shaking, and we may have racing thoughts. The opposite is called the hyperarousal zone, where we sometimes find it too much an effort to socialise or communicate with others, and we may feel disconnected. Some other feelings of that are feeling flat or no energy, inability to think clearly. Maybe we feel like we're shutting down, or we may even feel ashamed, or we need to withdraw and isolate ourselves. And there is a horrible feeling sometimes of hopelessness. The zone which we aim to be in is called the window of tolerance. This zone is where we feel more calm, cool, collected and connected. And this means that we can feel and think simultaneously because we can self-soothe ourselves. Awareness of what's going on in naming the emotion and the situation, and we still feel safe. And we even may feel empathy for ourselves and others. So why does this matter? When we can regulate our emotions, we can make better decisions. We'll communicate more effectively and avoid those regretful moments like sending that angry text or saying something we don't mean. It can also affect our physical health. Chronic stress and emotional dysregulation can mess up our sleep, our immunity, and even our heart health. And here's the best part. It is a skill, which means anyone can improve it. So how do we build emotional regulation skills? How do we get better at this? Step 1 is called pause. So when you feel a strong emotion like anger or anxiety or frustration, we are in the hyperzone area. Or if we're feeling flat and disconnected, can't say no, we're going to be in the hyperzone. Any of these, try not to act immediately. Take a breath. Give yourself a moment to name what you're feeling. An example being you feel overwhelmed or disappointed. You may feel lonely. This small pause creates a space between the emotion and your reaction. Step 2 is called check the story. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? Sometimes we react not to just what's happening, but to our interpretation of it, if we're either in these two zones. Step 3 is called using grounding tools. These can be simple, like breathing exercises, or stepping outside, writing a journal, or talking to somebody you trust. In other podcasts, I will talk about an emotional log as a way to capture the trigger, the emotion, the strength of the emotion, and any unhelpful thinking habits it generates, which can help us reflect on what we felt and what happened. But remember, the goal isn't to push the feeling away, but to move through it without being consumed by it. An example, let's try something. You take a deep breath in through your nose, only as you breathe in. You let it out slowly. Now, you check in with yourself. How are you feeling right now? Make no judgment, just notice. That is the beginning of emotional regulation. It's called awareness. The breathing in and out through the nose is part of the sympathetic nervous system, which is part of the fight or flee syndrome. Just breathing in and out through your nose will release the dopamine that helps soothe us, as does a hug for babies or even adults. Using that nose breathing as an example, you hopefully will start to feel the difference. Many of my clients have reflected to me it has been helpful to reduce the feeling of overwhelming, etc. So, the next time you feel emotions bubbling up, remember you're not powerless. You can ride the wave. See if you can check which zone you're in. I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Wellbeing Moments. If this episode has helped you, please share it with someone who might need some help. Learn to be at peace with yourself. Be compassionate to yourself. And I hope you will join me next time when I'll be talking about coping behaviours, how we learn them as we develop and grow from children to adults. Thank you again for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.